Welcome to Dark Rule Stories, where every rule exists for a reason. Break it and face what should never be found. They told me the rule the first evening I found the forest trail. It wasn't written on a sign. There were no warning boards, no fences, and no stories carved into old wood to scare curious visitors away. It was simply spoken in a quiet voice by an old man who lived near the edge of the woods. "Whatever happens," he said, staring at the tree line instead of me, "if you're on the trail after dark, don't answer anyone who calls your name." I laughed, not because I wanted to be rude, but because it sounded like one of those old village tales made to keep children from wandering too far into the forest. The old man didn't laugh with me. His face remained completely still. The evening sun painted the wrinkles on his skin with deep shadows, making him look older than he probably was. "I'm serious," he whispered. I looked toward the forest behind him. The trail looked peaceful enough. A narrow path of packed dirt stretched between tall pine trees. Sunlight filtered through the branches, creating golden patches on the ground. Birds chirped somewhere high above, and a cool breeze carried the fresh smell of earth and leaves. There was nothing frightening about it. Actually, it was beautiful. I had moved to the small town only a week earlier after years of living in a crowded city. The quiet life was exactly what I wanted. I rented a small cabin at the edge of town, and every morning I walked the forest trail to clear my head. The locals always seemed uncomfortable when they noticed where I went. At the grocery store, people would stop talking when I mentioned the trail. At the cafe, a woman nearly dropped her cup when I told her I liked walking there in the evenings. "You should finish your walks before sunset," she said quickly. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. Then she gave the same answer everyone else gave. "It's just the rule." That was the strange thing about the town. Nobody had a story. Nobody explained where the rule came from. Nobody even wanted to discuss it. They just followed it. For the next several days I did the same. Every afternoon I walked the trail and made sure I returned before the sun disappeared behind the mountains. Nothing unusual happened. No whispers. No shadows moving between the trees. No mysterious figures watching me. The forest was exactly what it appeared to be. Peaceful. Quiet. Normal. Which was why I started thinking the locals were simply afraid of an old superstition. Then one evening I stayed longer than I should have. It wasn't intentional. I had walked farther than usual, following a section of the trail I had never explored before. The trees became thicker there, their branches weaving together overhead and blocking much of the fading sunlight. When I checked my watch, my stomach tightened. 7:48 p.m. The sun had already disappeared. Darkness was spreading through the forest like black water. I turned around immediately. The trail back looked different. Longer. Narrower. Almost unfamiliar. I told myself it was just the darkness playing tricks on me. So I started walking faster. A few minutes later I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Heavy. Crunch. 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 I stopped. The footsteps stopped too. The forest became completely silent. Even the insects had gone quiet. My heart began beating harder as I slowly looked over my shoulder. There was nobody there. Just a long, empty trail disappearing into the darkness between the trees. I took a deep breath and laughed nervously. "Great," I muttered to myself. "Now I'm becoming one of those paranoid locals." The moment I turned back around, someone whispered my name. Not from behind me. Not from beside me, but from somewhere deep among the trees ahead. The voice sounded exactly like my own mother, and she had been dead for 10 years. My entire body froze. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The sound of my mother's voice lingered in the air, soft and familiar, exactly the way I remembered it from childhood. The gentle tone she used whenever she called me inside for dinner. The warmth in her voice whenever she said my name. But that was impossible. I had stood beside her grave 10 years ago. I had watched the coffin disappear beneath the earth. There was no way she was standing somewhere among those trees. "Come here," she whispered again. This time the voice came from deeper inside the forest. Away from the trail. My legs moved before my mind could stop them. One step, then another. The trees seemed to part slightly, revealing a narrow opening between the trunks. It looked like a path I had never noticed before. The darkness inside it was thick and unnatural, almost like the forest itself was hiding something just beyond my sight. "Mom?" I whispered. The word escaped my mouth before I realized what I was doing. The moment I spoke, everything changed. The old man's warning slammed back into my mind. "If you're on the trail after dark, don't answer anyone who calls your name." My blood turned cold. I had already broken the rule. A sudden gust of wind rushed through the trees, strong enough to make the branches bend and groan overhead. The peaceful forest I had walked through every day disappeared. Now it felt alive. Watching waiting the voice stopped sounding like my mother. It began to change. Her gentle words stretched unnaturally, as if someone was trying to imitate a human voice, but didn't understand how humans actually spoke. "Chloe, me, Chloe, seer." The sound became wet. Broken wrong every instinct inside me screamed to run so I ran. I sprinted down the trail, my boots slamming against the dirt as branches scraped my arms and face. Behind me something moved between the trees, not walking, not running, following. The movement was too fast, gliding from one shadow to another. Every time I looked back, I caught only pieces of it. A pale hand wrapped around a tree trunk, a glimpse of a face with no eyes, a shape too tall and too thin to belong to any person. Then I heard another voice, my father. "Stop running," he called. Then my younger brother, "Wait for me." Then my childhood best friend. Then strangers. Hundreds of voices began calling my name from every direction. Young voices, old voices, male voices, female voices. Some were crying, some were laughing, some were begging for help. "Please don't leave me. I'm hurt. I'm scared. Turn around." The worst part was that they all sounded real. They knew things only those people would know. Memories I had never told anyone. Secrets buried so deeply in my mind that even I had forgotten them. And every single voice was trying to pull me off the trail. That's when I understood the true purpose of the rule. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe. And if you carry a story you want told, email me at darkrulestories@gmail.com.